Did you know Stevie Wonder wrote a song specifically for Michael Jackson, and it ended up being the most daring track on the entire Off the Wall album? The song is I Can't Help It, and it sounds different from everything else on that record. While the rest of Off the Wall leaned into disco and funk, this one went somewhere jazzier, softer, more complex. That was Stevie's signature. You can hear it in the chords, in the way the harmonies move in unexpected directions. But here is what makes this track so special. Michael did not just sing it, he felt it. His voice carries a kind of emotional weight on this song that had nothing to do with his years at Motown. It was something newer, something more personal. Stevie Wonder was Michael's biggest musical mentor at the time, and handing him a song this intimate was not just a gift, it was a statement. It said, "I trust where you are going." Michael was only 20 years old, and he sounded like he had lived twice that.
Michael Jackson did not invent the moonwalk, and yet he made it immortal. His name was Jeffrey Daniel, a member of the group Shalimar. Backstage at a TV show, years before the world ever heard the name Motown 25, Jeffrey pulled Michael aside and showed him a street move called the backslide. Smooth, slick, a clever little trick that made your feet look like they were defying gravity. Michael watched, Michael learned, and then Michael waited, because what he did next was not just copy a move. He transformed it. He slowed it down. He added weight to every glide. He made it feel like the ground was pulling him back and he was barely winning the fight. On that Motown 25 stage in 1983, 30 seconds changed everything. That is the real genius people miss. Jeffrey Daniel gave him the step, but Michael gave it a soul. Anyone can learn a trick. Very few people can make a trick feel like a moment the whole world remembers forever.
Did you know Michael Jackson was hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, and almost nobody knew until it was nearly too late? At his peak, he was making more money than most people could imagine, and spending even more. Neverland Ranch cost him around $500,000 a month just to keep the lights on. The Beatles catalog he bought in 1985 for $47.5 million was genius, but it became collateral for loans that kept stacking higher and higher. By the early 2000s, he owed Sony close to $300 million. The interest alone was crushing him. There were emergency loans, quiet negotiations, bankers making calls that never made the news. His inner circle watched it happen in real time. Some tried to warn him, most stayed silent. The public saw the glove, the moonwalk, the spectacle. Nobody saw the spreadsheets. Michael came within weeks of losing everything, multiple times. The man who owned a piece of music history was quietly borrowing money just to survive, and almost no one said a word.
Did you know Michael Jackson once stood outside Sony's offices holding a protest sign calling his own boss a devil? And the reason why is one of the wildest stories in music history. In 2001, Michael Jackson released Invincible. It sold over 10 million copies worldwide, but Sony barely promoted it. No music videos, no real push, and Michael noticed. He believed Sony CEO Tommy Mottola was deliberately letting the album fail. Why? Because Michael owned half of Sony's entire music publishing catalog, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If Michael looked weak, Sony could pressure him out and take control. So Michael fought back the only way he had left. He went public. He stood on the street with a sign. He called Mottola a racist and a devil in front of cameras and reporters. Industry insiders didn't laugh it off. They listened. This was the biggest pop star on earth, realizing the machine that made him famous was now working against him and refusing to go quietly. Did Sony sabotage Michael on purpose? Drop your thoughts below and follow for more stories like this. Did you know Michael Jackson made a secret vow that changed music history forever? In 1979, he released Off the Wall. It was a masterpiece. 40 million copies sold. Critics loved it. Fans loved it, but when Grammy nominations came out, the Recording Academy gave it almost nothing. One technical award. That was it. Michael Jackson sat in his home and cried. He told his manager, "It will never happen again. Not as a wish, as a promise." That rejection became rocket fuel. Every single day working on Thriller, he was thinking about that moment. He pushed harder than anyone thought was possible. He worked with Quincy Jones and refused to settle for anything less than perfect. The result? The best-selling album in history. 25 Grammys in one night. A moment that rewrote what was possible for a black artist in mainstream music. But people close to him said the wound never fully healed. Even after the trophies, he still remembered what they said his genius was worth. Rage or heartbreak? Which one drives you harder? Drop it below and follow for more stories like this.
What?